Hello, everybody.
Go, Maggie.
You in the room and you on Zoom. Welcome to Poetry Street, the room without a roof where every voice is heard. I welcome you all today. It's a gorgeous day. I think a few people went to the beach, but we are so happy to have you guys here. I am Maggie Bloomfield. I co-host Poetry Street with Chip Williford, who's in Florida but has joined us, and with Claire Lunner, who does a lot of technical stuff for us and is here in person today. We begin with a land welcome. New York City, Long Island, has always been a gathering and trading place for many indigenous people. We acknowledge that we are guests on this land. Poetry Street and our work in this area of Long Island is situated on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape, who are the original caretakers. Also, the Canarsie, the Shinnecock, the Nantucket, the Rehoboam, the Munsee, the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge and respect the many indigenous peoples who live on this land and continue to make ongoing contributions to the area. We have some new people here today, so I will tell you a little about Poetry Street. Poetry Street celebrated 10 years last month. We had a party. We really did. It was so much fun. It was started by Susan Gill, who's up there on Zoom, and Bobby Brown, who's in the back of the room, as part of the Jumpstart Project for East End Art 10 years ago. We were at the Blue Duck Bakery, thanks to Nancy Curtis, who hosted us for many years, and then the bakery went out of business, so she couldn't host anymore. We moved around a little. COVID came. We went on Zoom, became Poetry Street on the Road, and then we were invited to the Riverhead Library by Pam Cook. I want to thank Pam and everybody at the library for hosting us for the last, I think it's 2 years at least.
Wow.
And we're very blessed and fortunate to be here. The way this works is we have 3 wonderful features today, and I will introduce each of them. They will read from 12 to 15 minutes. Then we will go to an open mic. The open mic is back. The list is back there, so please make sure you sign if you want to read. And for those of you on Zoom, make sure that you put your name in chat. We also have a tradition called a community poem. There's a jar on the table back there. What we ask you to do is write a line on a piece of paper, put it in the jar, and I will bring it next month in the form of a poem that I will compose and read. So if you want to hear the poem, you got to come back next month, okay? The one for last month goes like this. The trees wave outside the window, but the lilacs died too soon. The babies are laid to rest as summer sun sets. Where is the jar filled with poems, life, and love? A line is just a line till the poet takes hold of it. Then it is inspiration. A poem can bring back both the babies and the lilacs. we have tremendous features today. And we're going to start with somebody I had the pleasure of reading with a few months ago. I was knocked out by his work and instantly invited him to feature here. Lennon Stravato is poet, screenwriter, and Emmy-nominated producer of The Bay. He studied religion at Stony Brook University and international affairs at NYU. Lennon will be reading from his debut book, The Inner Dialect, available at independent bookstores and on Amazon. Please make a lot of noise for Lennon Stravato.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that reading together was just an immense pleasure, and very delighted to be here with everyone on Zoom. So what I had planned was about 7 from the book, 3 new ones, but if we need extra, we have extra. So again, thanks very much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. Okay, we'll start with Unwritten Love. I see you by the old wind chimes, kneeling there beside the bay, just past the hands of time, in a memory that won't decay. Now there's a million pages fate never chose to write, but if I had my way, well, we would still be side by side. And I drown your ghosts in bourbon, but found out they can drink. They told me everything and nothing are closer than you think. So I studied all the ancients, loved with total care, walked the shorelines and the forests, inhaled the mountain air, all to seek relief from reasons that I'd chosen to believe. Like every bygone season, nobody can retrieve. But of all the million pages, fate never chose to write, the one that still calls my name is me and you, side by side. Thank you very much. Second one is called A Man is Made in Moments. And I wrote this at a very dark moment, which thankfully passed right after writing it, in fact. Thank God. A man is made in moments. I'm drifting through the shadows and the January breeze, just thinking of tomorrow with a hope that doesn't cease. Certain that my seeking is a burden like the cross, promising victory that's bound with total loss. I'm bruising and I'm bleeding. There's no telling if I'll win. But a man is made in moments where he never does give in. Yes, the little ghost inside of me has managed to endure the waves of catastrophe, always telling me, be sure. The ocean is much deeper than the surface where we swim. Ignore that old scorekeeper with his undertaker's grin. The fatigue which scars the body will never shake my faith, even when these trembling hands can barely wash my face. So I'm bruising and I'm bleeding, but I still believe I'll win, for I was made in moments that I never did give in. Street Preacher Paul. Good old street preacher Paul always has a smoke to spare. And if he smoked them all, I'm certain that he'd share the one he now is toking, as he leans in rather close and says it ain't no joking. There's just one thing that he knows. Heaven is much nearer than this earth that we call home. If you want to see it clearer, shine that heart like polished chrome. Love is a dimension beyond the body made of dust, but every bad intention turns that chrome right into rust, and we become blind to the eternity that's right behind the mind of ego's me, me, me. Okay, the next one is called Where Streetlights End. I wrote this for someone that I would love forever and see, for whatever reason, once every 8 to 10 years. We met where streetlights end, in favor of the moon, as her soul began to bend toward its primal tune. I was then a rising prince, my power did accrue, by having just dispensed of one accustomed to the view. She disdained fortune's throne, and all for which it stood. I said I'd always known I'd overthrow it when I could. But soon life sent her east in search of noble truths, while I had been released to the many from the few. I traveled broken roads and faced unending snares, but made a drifter's home in life's unanswered prayers. Failing fast, left and right, all fortune did depart, except my appetite for matters of the heart. And in defeat I chose a different path to trod. Above the pain I rose into the hands of God. And Spirit gave this pen and told me not to yield. Don't matter if you're broken, the word will be your shield. But now this gust of wind, like a splendid hurricane, has made the years rescind and me call out her name. Our love was bright yet brief, for that was not our time. But in this moment, so complete, fate has returned our rhyme. I think you used some of this clause. Don't get that much of it. Okay, this is called My Retreat. I wrote this on my 40th birthday. I don't know if it's a gift to myself or not, but My Retreat. I'm pulling back the troops. I've chosen to retreat. Put it in your books. Call it my defeat. 40 years I traveled, a member of this play, and now it has unraveled. There's nothing to portray, nothing to preserve, the chalet and the shop. What idols did I serve in these ironic props? A body's made of dust, a spirit holds some life. This time I've put my trust in my vision, not my sight. Those who lust for objects become just what they seek, but he who does reflect evades this mortal peak. I yearn for that much more than the mandate of a clock. I've set my heart to what endures long after it has stopped. I'm calling off the troops. I've chosen to retreat. Put it in your books. Call it my defeat. This one's a slightly different style. I tend to have the same themes. After graduating high school, I left my hometown and did not return for, 15 years or so. I avoided it. And anyway, circumstance had me pass through. It's called Nostalgic Drive. Pink Floyd and the tape deck, enough gas for the day. Don't know how you worship, but that was once my way. I measured youth in miles, from the village to the shore. I hear my rides are filed inside of local lore. But at some point, Eden slipped from the rearview mirror's grasp. I don't think I know which trip turned out to be my last. Today, nostalgia drove me back, but I couldn't stay too long. I'm on a different track, singing my own songs. So fare thee well, my old hometown. We had our bit of time. Don't call too often now. You belong to younger. Thank you. So that's for 6. We're from the book. And then, it's funny, after publishing the book, after releasing it in December, I just had like severe writer's block. I just wasn't ready to write for quite a while. It's only in the past 2 weeks that I started again. So I have 3 from the past 2 weeks, which I'll read now. First one, Edge of Nowhere. But not that edited. On the outer edge of nowhere, drinking whiskey all alone, is the shadow of a man I wish everyone had known. His life was like a song the outlaws would repeat, or anyone who hoped too long in the face of pure defeat. He helped an endless stream of people on their knees, and then he kept on giving like there's nothing that he'd need. But when he wandered in the night to where we do not know, I had a dreadful feeling he was searching for a home. The memories of battles lost, the friends he couldn't save, now haunt him in the quiet of every breath he takes. But he heads on down that highway and drifts from town to town. When he gets the scent of that truth which moves around, the old elusive muse, like the divine in everything, that when you try to hold, will disappear like dreams. Yet somewhere in the heartbeat of this soul that won't give up is still a string that ties us all to a spring of cosmic love. Echoes of the Lonesome Moon. A little too autobiographic. Hopefully, whatever. Broken roads before me, dreams that never end. She left when life got stormy, said the wild wind's your friend. But these dusty boots don't mind all the gravel or the sand, because they seem to sense my journey is greater than my plans. And destiny may be a thing we only whisper to ourselves, but it beats the sounds of poison crowds that all believe in someone else. Now morning light comes creeping through my curtains, worn and thin, like the miracle of living is how to take it on the chin. And the path ahead is winding through heartaches still untold, but Lord knows when I find them, they'll join the life I sold. And my destiny may be a thing I only whisper to myself, but it beats the sounds of poison crowds that all believe in someone else. But as I reach my final turn, I still wish she was near to hear the lessons that I've learned, whispered in my ear. But on our way to paradise, she turned back far too soon and couldn't see the dawn was breaking right behind that lonesome road. Okay, and the third from yesterday. This is a gritty piece that it was funny. I posted it on my Facebook, and my mother replied. And she said I was reading it, and I had to jump down to see who wrote it. So, and I replied, it's not the me that came to be, is what I said. But I visited him a few times. Cigarettes and wisdom, I could hear it in her voice. With the skin of bad decisions, sometimes you can't avoid. She said she needs a hero, and I look like the man. I said beauty and decay were not quite in my plans. But tell me, sister, please, the risk you have in mind. Because every man has needs, and I might find the time. She laughed a smoky laughter, sounded sweet and sad, then said I danced with devils, and they took all I had. I said what you had was fleeting, except those ink-stained scars. But if that old heart's beating, perhaps you hold some cards. So tell me, sister, please, the risk you have in mind. Every man has needs, and I might find the time. She said you are young enough to still believe love can find a way, but old enough to really know it's so much easier to say. Now you can be the hero you needed your whole life. And then she shared the stories that built her soulful lives. And I had seen the Buddha, Jesus Christ, and Tao, but anyway I phrased it, we were both forsaken then. 20 more, and it's the final we're doing on food, because I one that I always read less. Okay, so I won't read the one I always read. It's my only free verse, and I read it to close every time. Lucky enough to feature. Okay. Let me see. This is a short one. It's called The Torch. My background on my mother's side is from Cuba, but they were Sephardic Jews that fled the Inquisition. This is called The Torch. Say a prayer for the flower that was warned not to bud, or ever speak of the hour streets ran slick with our blood, whose Toledo tombstone tears were only shed at night through 500 stolen years of this unspoken flight, from the mainland to the islands, and then again across the sea. My people lived in silence, but now it's down to me. So for all the satyrs and the caves and the tortured with no graves, I vow that I will shine so bright, the world will know you held our light.
Okay, well, that was magnificent. Let's hear it again. All right, we're off to a fantastic start this afternoon. And now you are going to hear from, oh my goodness, Mindy. Mindy Kronenberg is a widely published poet, writer, critic, and professor of writing and the arts at SUNY Empire State University. Her work has appeared in print and online journals around the world and featured in art galleries and museum installations. She is the editor of Oberon Poetry Magazine and author of Dismantling the Playground, Images of America, Miller Place, and an illuminated book of poems called Open. She is a fantastic poet, and we are so lucky to have her on Zoom today. Help me welcome Mindy Kronenberg.
Thank you so much, Maggie, Chip, the Poetry Street community, family. It's my greatest pleasure to be back here and to read among you. Because I am part of that community. I may be a feature today, but part of my greatest pleasure is to hear what other people have to say. So without further ado, let me begin with a couple of short things. I have a mix of mostly recent work, some ekphrastic, which I'll get to. But this is about getting into a new season. Changing apparel. I'm putting away my winter poems, summoned from skies of shivered sleep. I'm smoothing the words that bundle chilled bones, heavy and swollen on the page, tethered to the fading light. Drawer after drawer, I've folded and tucked away their heft, swap their bulk for the bright feathers and iridescence under the bed, their lines quivering for flight, the paper poised to sing. And this is a little more on the serious side. It'll be coming out in an anthology, Fatal Force, Poetic Justice, which is about police brutality. And this is in memory of Tyree Nichols, you might remember was murdered in 2023 by the Memphis police. 3-minute egg. Light the fire or heat the coil, whichever you need to warm the pot. Bring that water to a boil till it swirls and peaks and splashes to the flames. Ball your fist, raise your baton, strike at the first sign of sweat before it shimmers. Gently ladle the eggs into water, your spoon glimmering against the pan, and with your hand, twist the knob to lower the fire. When the eyes glimmer, raise your feet and stomp, first the forehead, then the cheek. Simmer the eggs for 3 minutes, lift with a slotted spoon, and gently bathe under a cold running faucet. Douse the victim in pepper spray, coating the eyes, mouth, and throat. Serve while still warm, the shell unharmed. Leave his body on the ground, no longer able to speak. And this, of course, has to do with getting older, or one aspect of getting older, and was inspired from something someone had told me about imagining that her husband was still there. Twilight. When she awakened, she was holding her own hand, thinking it was his. With eyes closed, she spoke in a sleepy voice. Sweetheart, we have to get up. We have a busy day ahead. But fatigue held its blurry grip, sand spilling upwards in an hourglass, and flapping the coverlet, closed and open, folding around them through nights and days. The sheets billowed, tucked and stripped, his back arched and inching away, the cold pillowcase, the light neither early nor late, the sound of her breath slowing and dwindling into one long whisper, bogging the details of his face. And this next group is from a group of ekphrastic work, which I love working in, these are poems that were summoned from either listening to music or visual art. And I'm the poetic curator for the Center for Environmental Education and Discovery in Belport, who puts on Sculpture on the Trail. And we have some poets in this audience. We have Chip and Maggie and Bruce, who are 3 of 23 poets that I was able to wrangle together this year to match with 23 sculptors. And it's our 3rd year doing it. And it's wonderful if you can come down. It's free and it's open to the public. And the sculptures are nestled in a wooded area, and they have poems that were inspired by them posted for visitors. And I've been involved with the ekphrastic practice, which comes from the ancient Greek, to create a narrative from a non-visual art form. And this next one was actually part of something I did for LTV that was based on a piece of music. Murmuration. How is it birds twist and billow into a swollen net against the clouds, a vortex of dart wings into light? This magic lace, a dancing dream catcher, tattered by wind, but healed in flight. They spin like desire, escaping grief, love spiraling into hope, the heart shattered and made whole again. And this one was from summoned from a sculpture by Jay Sylvester, who's one of the artists involved with sculpture on the trail. And it'll be my third time working with him, which is exciting. We've got a great partnership going. This is called Summer Romance, Gaia's Lament. Gaia was the kind of earth goddess. And I should say that a lot of these sculptures are sustainable or eco-conscious in what they're trying to convey. Summer Romance. Was it the heat? Was it the verdant breath of our whispered vows? A woven entanglement of unbridled desire, blinding me to the carnage. Down come saplings in overgrown meadows. Up come the roots in a riot of wildflowers. How did you fool me, Lothario, impostor, entwined in my grasp, sweet murmurings faint and gentle on the air? Spades glint in the sun, sink their teeth into the lawn to bear the tender mud. My unfurled tendrils in your heart embrace, my heart a trembling cage splintered by stents. Posts are impaled, staked and fastened in the ground to declare dominion. I will not shrink nor shrivel under your toxic spell. My honor will be reclaimed in the sinuous force of my rage. And these two are actually part of an international like phrase stick project that I've been involved with Netherlands artist Joost de Jong, and who's an abstract artist. We've been working together for almost a decade now, and he's had exhibits mostly in Europe. One was in Croatia recently, having to do with Eurydice and Orpheus. And I had two poems from that installation. And these were from two recent works of his, in his project number 5 it is already. Calliope. The summer night is a carnival, a string of stars winking above wheels of petals and pistols taken to the wind, a swagger of swaying grasses, the perfume of pollen and perspiration drenching the air, a pungent confection melting on the tongue. Fireflies blink and spin in crepuscular neon, an evening's terpsichore of chirpers and acrobats, wings clenched and spread by a celestial gavotte, the heart flung over the moon, the fading din of dusk's indulgent pageantry. Diminuendo. The roadmap of my daydreams calls for breath to seek rhythm in a desert's glittering sand. Faint melodies snaking beneath the surface, burrowing and bulging until the ground's hollowed howl unfurls in an aura of stage darkness. The air splits into two songs, golden aria, my coloratura youth floating on the wind, a chant rolled out among the rage of clouds, swirls above the contralto anthem threaded among tree roots and cold rock beds, gnarled gravity of my aging wistful harmony. And these are from a previous year's sculptures from Sculpture on the Trail, also inspired, one by Jay Sylvester, which if you can imagine, kind of, he works in natural materials, vines and wood. And if you picture a large disc of interwoven vines and twigs hanging between trees in this clearing. Portal. Even as a girl, I felt it, walking in the woods, my heart an abundant basket, my limbs reaching and embracing at once. This kinship of trees, the transcendence of sadness and solitary longing in the rustle and ruckus of dancing branches. The portal to my higher self is suspended between shadows and dappled light, amalgam of nymph and gorgon, where even time petrifies, beckons memory woven into song, buoyant yet subliminal, the percussion of footfalls giving way to whispers rising from roots to float mid-air, a mime of frozen, sinuous vines. How am I doing on time? Okay. And this is after a sculpture by Rocio Snyder, who's going to be with us again, the Sculpture on the Trail. And if you picture kind of a figurehead from a ship against a tree. Proud. Sister, when did I become a totem in the woods? Was it from a spell that tethered me to tree bark? Something that kept me motionless as Ariella imprisoned in a trunk? How is it that my dreams swell with the cry of orcas and the pungent sting of sea spray? I have wept as one whose spirit is shipwrecked, aground on gritty loam, no longer fertile, or free to seek crystalline waves that unfurl on glittering shorelines, awakened in bright foam. Do I have time for two more? One more? Okay. One more. This is from the Eurydice and Orpheus installation that was from Croatia. Orpheus diminished. My heart is a cavern howling in silence. My tongue no longer an instrument for desire. I let her go, like the words, the melody, the muse that blessed our union. Where my steps once roused dancing among creatures great and small, rooted to the earth, soaring in skies or deep within the sea, my footfalls are now heavy and scorched in shame. My love was on fire, symphonic as a zephyr reaching birds, the sun, and the stars. Once we were one, my distrust tore us apart. I had dominion in charming this world, but I've become hollow, a rattle of regret, haunted by her arms, wings flung backward, her gasp receding into deafening blackness. I am the only one to blame. Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen. And we will hear one more calling from her at the end of today. At a dinner about a month ago, which was put on by the Literary Repository of Long Island, Tammy Morgan's place, poetry place, Mindy was made the poetry ambassador of Long Island.
Thank you, Maggie.
All the way from New Jersey. A wonderful, wonderful poet discovered online by me, but discovered by many other people. Gill is a writer and activist based in the New Jersey, New York area. His creative media of expertise include poetry, film, television scripts. I can't read this. Shot something. Anyway, shot something. You know what I need for class? I keep forgetting. Okay. Outside of creative projects, Lee has the privilege of writing critical music and movie reviews, religious sermons, and political speeches. And again, this is his second trip here from New Jersey. Let's welcome Lee Gill.
Choked by spuming puke, overdosed in the Tenderloin. Frolicked in a Dublin alley in a drunken brawl. Lanced by Maasai raiders on the Mombasa coastline. Drowned with neighboring Vaishyas by the flooding Ganges. Splattered by a freight along the Mohawk and Hudson. Scorched by the deep migration of Viet Cong rockets. Pumped with pentobarbital, locked down in Terre Haute, rattlesnake bit in a copper camp outside of Bisbee, brains hemorrhaged by C1 billy clubs and block clots, mauled by hounds while fleeing a Saint-Domingue plantation, slipped arsenic by a wealth-seeking black widow, birth malformed from a womb tainted by thalidomide, gracefully escorted by the reaper whilst dreaming. That last one is called, that was called Samsara. And I've been really embracing Buddhism as a thought system and spiritual system and kind of interrogating who I am and how I got here. And so, and it's that question, right? Nature and nurture, right? What did I bring with me? What was put into me right now? And what was just straight up my fault? And so, just kind of looking back at my past and trying to make some positive changes, these questions just kept coming up. And especially about manhood, because there's a code that men are taught in this culture, at least. There's a code that's enforced. And this one's called Full Metal Man. After my first breath, they poured my newborn body into the smoldering mold of the soldier. They rewarded my laughter and tears in equal measure with social demerits and heavy-handed slaps. They ripped Technicolor dreams out of my brain in bloody chunks and replaced them with designs for war and techniques for breaking jaws. On my 18th birthday, they gift wrapped me a stack of W-2s and a fully loaded AR-15. Now they command me through screen, feeding me daily marching orders and a steady stream of placebos to numb my pressure-cooked emotion. When I glimpse my reflection, a skull sealed behind a flat antisocial expression glowers back, confirming that I am indeed a man. So that's the expectation. And then, there's the environment. I'm from New Jersey, with the land of snakes. Den of snakes, den of thieves, den of snakes, everything just can't. And they're all scumbags. Everything you heard about New Jersey is true, everything. So I can't defend it. Anytime somebody talks shit about New Jersey, I'm like, yeah. So, but I'm right by New York, right, which isn't much better, but at least there's culture in New York. So it's the glitter of culture. And I'm in and out of the city a lot, and I love New York City. It's the greatest city in the world, but it's a crucible. It's a crucible. And everything wrong with the city is a result of the city. Crime, the society is the scaffold for crime. This one's called Hell in Port Authority. Behold the urban panorama. Searing summer air, boiling blood, the constant howling of sirens, sewers belching toxic smoke. Shifting eyes everywhere, twitching fingers, that terrible fear of a knife in the back, sanity seeping out of the ears. Subway cars reeking of urine and death, stinking sacks of misery jammed underground, clutching their bags close, feverishly praying for a safe ride home. The gurgling gut of the metropolis, reinforced with glass and steel, dissolving babies, immigrants, homeless, melting their flesh into bile, then bathing the asphalt in that bile. In sum, a grisly carnival funded in the billions by faceless sociopaths. Horror, horror. Right, so the crime and evil is built through the scaffold of society. And so, I wasted a lot of my life blaming these factors, how I was raised, where I was raised, the time I lived in, for the mistakes I've made. But as I've grown up and kind of started looking inward honestly, it doesn't really matter the environment, the scaffold. The point in my life is my life, right? It doesn't matter where I came from, those past lives. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the life I live. What matters is what I do right now with the clay in front of me, right? With this form, what do I do now? And I'm learning how to take responsibility for myself, and that feels really good. How much time do I have left?
Oh, what's time?
Okay.
4 or 5. 4 or 5.
Oh.
We'll give you 6.
Give me 4. Give me 5. Give me 4. Okay. Here's a haiku. An ordered process, careful advancement of life. Time is the scaffold. Here's another haiku. My reflection stares, demanding with sharp silence, will you be your best? And so with me embracing my humanity again, my interactions with people have just become a lot more human. And I'm letting, I realize that all my judgments and my antisocial behavior stem from fear of myself, fear of being alone, fear of getting it wrong, And so this poem I wrote the day I had a dinner with some friends from college, and with one of them, it ended up just being me and one other guy, and we had a real conversation about our lives and where we had been and where we were going. And at the end of it, I said, you know, man, this is the first real conversation we've ever had. You know what I mean? And we've been friends for like over a decade. I know since college. I'm 33 this year, and it was the first real conversation we ever had. And I feel like, especially as men, that's so often the case. You know, we don't actually talk. You know, it's all these signals, right? Like, for example, I had a really good friend in college, met him freshman year, been good friends. We talk about everything. Never knew his major in college, never once talked about schoolwork. And just like 2 years ago, I learned we were born on the same day. We had the same birthday. I've been friends with this man for a decade, never knew his birthday. We were born the same day, literally. Never knew his birthday. Just found out 2 years ago. Never called him for the birthday, just had didn't call it. Didn't call it, or didn't text each other either. So whatever, you know, slow, change is slow. But then I wrote this one after that last conversation. I was just so boggled by the fact that that failure of connection for so long that I literally just sat down in the dark, like moody. No, I wasn't so happy. But it was, I wrote this thing. It's called "Let's Catch Up." Manhood was sold to us, assembly required, with a faded manual missing pages. When our eyes connect, we wordlessly share wounds that hastily scab over with cool shop talk. I ask, how are you? You say, good. And you? Our fine friendship spans years. We still forget each other's birthdays. Internally, we hemorrhage in sync. Another page of the manual wilts away. Two more?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're good. About enough. And you know, with everything going on in the world today, without getting into details, it's very easy to be overwhelmed. So much is changing so quickly, and there's just so much sorrow. And part of acceptance is just realizing what's in my court, what's outside of my court. And I wrote this a little while ago, but it just I shared it around, and it just reminds me that what do I have? What can I put my hands on? What can I realistically control? It's a third haiku. Though hurricanes blow the world around me apart, peace maintains my core. And then as I become more human, I'm able to notice the little miracles of life all around. And being in New York, you see a lot of miracles every time you ride the subway. And this one was inspired by a baby reaching up at her mother's face from a stroller, you know, and it's called The Infant Dreams. The sun makes its skybound cycle. The seasons set themselves to dance. We twirl around this wheel of time. We chart our days along life's rhythm. A rumble erupts in the upper sphere. Darkness taints faraway clouds. We gaze up from our petty works. We freeze, heave, tremble. Landscapes flourish and bloom. Colored pigments, the vistas vibrant. We stroll amidst efflorescent hues. In all directions, we witness wonder. The flood of misfortune sweeps past. Families, histories devolve to derelict. We dig graves, sing sullen songs. We clutch tighter the boon of breath. We, all of us, remain divine infants, grasping for our parents' faces, pondering the mystery of our origins. aspiring constantly towards God. Thank you.
Lee Gill, did you? Oh, righty, what an afternoon. What wonderful features. Lennon, Lee, and Mindy, let's hear it for our features.
Yes. Great job.
All right. Okay, we're going to go into the open mic. I'm just going to make a few things clear about the open mic. If you signed up, we are so happy. We will ask you to do one poem. That is one poem, not the epic that you've been working on for 5 years, please. In the interest of time and bringing our features back, we ask that you do one poem. Claire, do you want to lead the open mic, or do you want to give me the list? Rather give you the list. My knees would rather. Okay. Thank you, Claire. Shall we start with Chip from Zoom? Yes, lead us. I think we should start with Chip, my wonderful co-host, all the way from Florida. Chip, bring it on.
Hi, everyone. It is so good to be here in Florida, but I wish I was there in New York. Sort of, kind of. The weather here is beautiful. Anyway, thank you so much, Mindy, Lee, and Leland. Such great work. The poem that I would like to read is entitled Under the Soul. I get tired of looking up only to see the dirt on the soul that's constantly pressing me down. No doubt with all my might, I will, no matter what, continue to fight and most likely cry. I know you all are questioning, well, tradition, honor, bravery, strength, pledge and oath, duty, and finally, the cliche. I shouldn't complain because I do imagine there's always someone somewhere worse off than I. Truthfully, nonetheless, here I am, barely lifting that dirty soul just so I can breathe while hoping and praying that one day soon I'll be able to squeeze out from under this incarcerated sorrow. I swear if I don't make it out today, I'll try again even harder tomorrow. You see, I can't give up and I won't give in as long as I have one breath of air. I don't care how bad it appears, for in my soul, I know they meaning the source, the power, the glory, and light within, can't, won't put more on me than I can bear. I believe God's love and strength, which I receive and clutch to my bosom with all my weary might. Locked within my soul, I rest in trust that the gift of his spirit and merciful grace will sustain me tonight. In the morning, I will offer thanks to God again and again for giving me another day. And I know with him, I'll lift from under that dirty soul and finally slip away. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes, I look forward to being there back home in Riverhead next month. And
Great.
next we have Megan Dosh.
Thanks. Great to be here. I love everyone's poetry. This is called Unintended Consequences. Remnants of spring rain pond in a forgotten snow shovel. Robin rises from the scoop. Water beads off soaring wings. It will evaporate to become rainbows of the future. This robin knows how to thrive with what shimmers in its path. Our lives brush against each other, as soft as feathers rippling in April breeze. Thanks.
Okay, from the room, we will have someone who has become part of the Poetry Street family, Jen Mara. This is called Smells of Yesterday. In the basement of a Brooklyn brownstone, a boy, too young, lived alone, baked hash brownies while drunk on mushroom tea. He listened to the dead. Posters of the casualties, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and Janis Joplin, lined the walls that surrounded the smells of cloves and patchouli permeating the apartment. The brown shag carpet, the boy's clothing strewn about the room, and the batiksed sheets nailed to the wall. His girlfriend sat lotus style on the sticky kitchen floor with tangled hair and St. Stephen in her head. She stared blankly to no place and floated on the smoke of patchouli incense. They were unaware of the damage occurring in the den. Their friends, and their friend's friend, and the girl they barely knew, who had been an LSD virgin and was now a victim for whom patchouli would always smell like this apartment. Thank you, Jim. Okay, next up from our room is someone who featured here just a couple of months ago, Susan Samara. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed last month's anniversary celebration, because it actually was my anniversary. It was 1 year that I was coming. I've come every month for 1 year, and I missed last month. So thank you, everyone, who presented a beautiful reading. I wrote this one yesterday. I'm not sure if it's really finished yet, but it's having to do with the current affairs. And it's titled Women Who Have Risen. You may think that you can stop us, stomp our spirit to the ground. If that's the way you're thinking, then you're thinking like a clown. We are not your personal chattel. You can't take away what was never yours to own. You can't brand us like some cattle or mold us like a clone. Our sisters fought hard before us, pushing open that bolted door. We are bold, tenacious women, fighting an ongoing war. We celebrate our victory when we earned our right to vote. Our voices will not be silent, no matter how you tip the boat. Your ignorance and your arrogance will not stand in our way. Our rights, our bodies, our choices, you cannot strip away. We are not women on the rise. We are women who have risen. You cannot keep us hidden. Like the phoenix, we will triumph with a stronger coalition. Wonderful, thank you. Who do we have? Zoom. We have Bruce Johnson, then followed by Susan Dingle. Oh, Susan Dingle. Okay, let's start with Bruce Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie, and what a wonderful reading. This poem is called In Time. On the harbor, the water is never still. Even on calm nights, lights flash in the ripples, and even the smallest ripples will rock a tethered boat. And in time, the slightest rocking will loosen the tightest line, so that a ship might drift in the moonlight, moving without direction, without intention, like the thoughts of an idle mind. Thank you.
Just listening today. Okay, then we will move into the room. And next up will be one of the fathers of Poetry Street, Bill Thatcher.
Selfies. How many selfies did you post today to share your life with follower or friend? Did they include your wife, or did you send out pics of you alone? Were they risque? What makes us always want to leave a trace that says, here I am, and you can see what I am doing now. Don't unfriend me. Acknowledge I am present in this place. From Lascaux to Twitter, there's a whim in every creature to mark his territory, to leave a legacy, to tell his story to any others that may follow him. The woodland starbuck marks his path with turds. The poet tries to do the same with words.
So like, oh, that was terrific. Thank you.
I love Bill.
Do we have anybody else on Zoom? I want to ask Virginia Walker if she'd like to read today. Virginia? And let me unmute yourself.
Myself. Did that work now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. All right. It wasn't what I thought I was supposed to do. I think we're limited to 3 minutes. Is that the problem?
Well, that's
Well, because I came here with a 5-minute poem, but okay, I changed things and I'll read a 3-minute poem. This was recently in Oberon magazine. Omens. A lopsided and bloodied moon leans over the bay, a large moon, a heavy weight to fall on earth. I pull my head down in reflex. In another ride homeward, I see Goya's Colossus punch a fist down from a cloud and divide a bay with a silver line into 2 halves. Still riding towards home, I am pummeled by a flood from the sky, rain as heavy as bullets, as loud as tanks, ascending the thin, bending roof. That these are omens, I am sure, but of what they foretell, I have no dreams. Yet the living air seems certain to congeal, the sword to come, and the hordes to drown us. Thank you. Let's see if I can back on the meeting here.
okay. We are wow. We are moving. I think I'll do a poem now. This poem is a cento, and a cento is a poem that's made up sort of lines from other people's poems. Maybe you'll recognize some of it. It's called Homage to Erickson. After the dish ran away with the spoon. The arachnid frightened off Miss Muffet. And old MacDonald's farm burned down to ashy timbers. I moved on to blackbird, white chicken, and another spider by a white heel all, noiseless and patient, gleefully curling all 8 legs around any insect lost in its web. I learned that love is indeed not all. Truth being as elusive as a gossamer thread, that about suffering I was often wrong, and that we all choose the more convenient road from time to time. And in particular, we all die way too soon. And now our co-founder, I'm so sorry Susan is not reading. She's out in the Pacific Northwest. She founded this wonderful organization and then she split to be with her grandchildren. I don't know, poetry grandchildren. Anyway, our other co-founder is here and is going to read for us, Bobby Brown.
Another Saturday of literary gems. It's been just the best. Well, this poem is, I guess you call it a poem, it's just entitled Musings, just stuff that floats through my cranium as I'm sitting down at Indian Island Park, watching the birds and the squirrels and the butterflies and getting away from the wasp. Entitled Musings. I can see the dawn of summer. I feel moisture in a cloud. I touch the beat of pulsing stars. I cry when heads are bowed. I yearn for children's voices, passing on a lilted breeze. Joy comes from pulpy juice, fresh from the morning squeeze. An extra hop comes to my step. Sweetness invades the breathing air when an elderly couple sashays down the street who forever have been a pair. I love to wake up in the night and feel lying next to me the love of my being, who I am, right where she's chosen to be. I can smell rich music from rosin violin strings, or from puffy cheeks blowing brass, or when a vocal cord sings. Sometimes I feel so in tune with life, in touch with real important stuff, like eyes, ears, fingers, and heart, and they're really quite enough. I need these musings from time to time to counteract sickness, death, and war, to anchor down my sanity. That's what God gave them to me for. So when life's burdens press your soul, when problems vex your livelihood, some things are meant for you to fix after you've done all that you could. Golden rays of sunshine splash across covers on my bed. Another day to muse and face the day that lies ahead.
Yay, Bob. Do we have anybody else on Zoom? No, not Zoom. Claire, are you going to read today? I will, but after me. Okay. After me. Now that means that one of the other mothers, we have many mothers and fathers here, Nina Yavel will read for us.
I don't know what's going on. Leland and Mindy, beautiful, beautiful poetry. Thank you, Maggie and Chip from Florida and Claire. So this is called Los Alamos, which is a place where, you know, the atom bomb came from. I'm sorry. So this is called Los Alamos. This is the place where the atom bomb came from. Nearby, a place of higher pines, mesa, sculpted hills, rocks, seated gods or goddesses, or maybe Navajo. Leaves have turned to gold trinkets glittering in the blue afternoon. Ghosts move in and out, pock-marked shadows, faces on the cavern walls. This was once a holy place, where the spirit danced with eagles beneath a turquoise sky. Clans of Hopi began and ended their migrations. Kachinas came down from stars, flowing from the Pleiades to Arabi. Now black masks stare up from the arroyo. Nothing stirs except boughs of spruce. Once the gods worked red clay, shaped men from the imagination. Now men fashion the internet, shape gods from dust.
And bring Claire up to share a poem with us, but how about Linda Bullock? Is she not reading today? She's not reading. Okay, then Claire. I don't know if you would call this a poem, but it's been what's rattling around in my head. The movers are coming tomorrow. Did I happen to say? The movers are coming tomorrow. What am I doing today? The movers are coming tomorrow. Perhaps if I were packing now, I wouldn't continue over and over to say, the movers are coming tomorrow. Why am I here today? Thank you, Claire. Is there anybody we missed who'd like to read a poem? We have a couple of new faces, no? In that case, it is time to bring back our teachers for an encore presentation. Let's begin with Lennon Stravato.
That's all. Really, really, really good stuff. This is one of the first poems I ever wrote. It's the only free verse poem I have. Close my book with it. It's called Divine Ink. Poetry is not respected anymore. Poet is not someone who sits there with a page and decides he has something to communicate. A poet is someone that knows he is a page and longs to be a book so well cultivated, the forest could not be offended that it had to die for the words to live. Poetry is the last refuge of mysticism. It is the final heartbeat of the ages, which modernity has failed to extinguish. The poet holds the final license to utter the word God with dignity. Poetry is when, to the human pen, divine ink is given.
Thank you so much, Lennon. And now, Mindy Kronenberg.
In keeping with the theme. Captive to the Muse. Oh, to be a detective in one's own life, sleuthing the self under piles of books, the lattice work of letters and love notes building on the stairs, the faces under glass growing younger with every year. Where to find desire, that perfumed exuberance, but in the dog-eared passages of thumb-warmed books, the gently frayed garments still redolent of skin and hair in the salt of summer or mulch of fall. Time is not kind, but it has secrets of its own. All of language spinning in the air, shimmers, taunts, tempts the mind, but cannot reach the tongue or one's hands. Why do poems come barreling in, but rarely escape? What remains at last, after all words are given to the world of the self at all? Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. And now, Leland.
The Kraken. The Kraken. A crashing burst of lashing spite comes charging up from depths of black. My schooner rattles, shaken to the atom, almost split with cracks. Pursuing this monstrosity for years left me bereft of peace. Now tendrils break through roaring waves as heralds to the quarry beast. Crimson eyes squarely lock upon me, primed for launching fast attack. Then fortune acts, a tailwind catches sail which hastens me home intact. Though family appeal for me to forfeit war and take reprieve, their worried pleas are cast away as I resume my hunt at sea. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. What a wonderful afternoon. And there's still time to go to the beach. Seriously, thank you all for coming today. You on Zoom, you in the room. This is always a pleasure and a privilege to be part of Poetry Street. We invite you to come back next month. There are 3 features next month. One is a woman named Beryl, whose last name I do not know. Steve Bordinko, who has featured here before, is going to read from his book. And our co-founder, Susan Dingle, will also be featuring. So it should be a wonderful afternoon, worth 3 trains from New Jersey. Just kidding. Thank you, those who traveled and those who did, those who helped. Pam Cook of the library, Claire. Without her, we'd be lost here. And all of you for being part of our poetry community. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.